Hi, my name is Erica. Today I will be providing you and training you on information about the flu and why you should be getting the flu shot. Before I start going over any information, I do want to make sure that you've grabbed the handouts. You'll see this one right here, and then another one providing a layout of the information I'm going to go over and a 5-question quiz. If you have not already grabbed these handouts, please pause the video real quick and grab those because you'll definitely want them as I go over the information. I also want to start this by prefacing that you will see a lot of common information between the flu virus and some of the situation we have going on right now. I am strictly going to be talking about the flu though, so make sure you're just taking this in consideration to the flu. To start, I kind of want to cover what the flu is. The flu is a respiratory illness. It's caused by the influenza virus. It mostly affects the nose and throat, but it can also affect the lungs as well sometimes. I've gotten all my information off of the CDC website. The CDC is a Center for Disease Control Prevention. It's a health website that kind of gives you information about the flu and some other health issues you can have going on in your life. If you do want to look more in depth at some of the flu information, you can feel free to visit their website. To start, I do want to cover the differences between the cold and the flu. So if you want to grab this little handout right here, this is going to be very helpful for you. It lists a bunch of different symptoms and then what they're normally like for the cold and flu. You can kind of look over this a little more by yourself. I'm not going to cover each of them. The main points are that, like, for things like the fever, like that is very common with the flu, but it's not very common with the cold. Also, generally speaking, the symptoms for the flu are going to be a lot more intense than the common cold. Now, the common cold and the flu are both respiratory illnesses, so the symptoms can make it a little difficult to decipher which one you have. Like I said, generally speaking, the flu is going to be more intense, but the best way to figure out if you have the common cold or the flu is to go to your doctor and get tested. We will be also covering just some general information about the influenza virus or the flu. We'll kind of talk about like how it's spread, how to prevent it, and like when it is the most common. So for the influenza virus, this can be spread between coughing, sneezing, talking, anything like that. It can travel up to 6 feet away. So when you're sick, you really want to kind of keep your distance from people. This is also contracted less from objects. While the virus can be contagious on surfaces of objects, it's not nearly as common to receive it that way. You can also infect people with the flu up to a day before your symptoms and even days after your symptoms are gone. So while you might have symptoms for one day or a few days, you can spread that before and after. This also can be passed for even longer. For children, typically it stays in their system a lot longer and they're able to spread it easier. Even if you don't show any symptoms with the flu, it is important that you are aware that you can still have it and you can still spread it during that time. So if you know you've been in contact with someone who's sick or in close contact with someone who's been sick, just kind of be cautious. Make sure you're, if for some reason you are coughing randomly, it's not consistently, or sneezing or anything like that, always make sure you're washing your hands. You're going into your elbow, not into your hands and not out in the open. It's also important to know who's more at risk for the flu. Kind of like with our situation going on right now, the people who are most susceptible and most at risk are those who are over 65, mostly children under the age of 5, any pregnant woman, and then anyone with a chronic health condition, specifically like asthma, diabetes, heart or lung disease. These people are going to be the most at risk. They will they are the ones that tend to be hospitalized more often when catching the flu, and sometimes death is even a possibility. It's important to know when the flu season is. Typically, the flu is detected year-round, but there is a season that is the worst along with the peak months. The flu is the most common during the fall and winter months, so anywhere from October to May, and then the peak is going to be anywhere from December to February. This can vary year to year. Based on information from the past, that's typically when the flu is the most common. It's especially important that during these months you are taking preventative actions to make sure you're not spreading the virus, making sure that you're keeping yourself safe and healthy. Some of the CDC recommends that the best way to prevent from getting the flu, most important step is to just get the flu vaccination every year. This vaccine is updated almost every year based on what they think is going to be the most common viruses going around during the next season. You can also take preventative actions from home, even if you decide not to get a vaccine, but you can also take these if you do get the vaccine just to prevent spread of it. For one, if you are sick, to avoid contact with people. If you are sick and you have a fever, make sure that you're trying to stay home at least 24 hours after that fever is broken. If you have a fever, that's going to be when you're most contagious. And then obviously if you're coughing, sneezing, anything like that, make sure you are covering your mouth. And if you are, make sure you're trying to wash your hands most often and cleaning any surfaces around you. And also just make sure during these months you're trying to avoid contact with touching your nose, mouth, or eyes. And then I will also kind of cover some information about the flu vaccine. If you want to just take a moment and kind of think of what information you think you know about the vaccine. I know there is a few different kind of myths that go around about the flu vaccine and why most people don't get it. But the thing I'll be covering the most common that people think happen is that people believe they can get the flu from the vaccine. This is actually not true. The vaccine is made up of either viruses that have already been killed or weakened. Just because it's weakened doesn't mean you can still get it. It's actually, when it's weakened, it's only a part of the virus, and you do need the full virus to be able to get sick from it. While it's not very common to get sick, there are obviously circumstances that can happen. So if after getting the vaccine you are experiencing any discomfort or anything out of the normal, just make sure you contact your doctor and they can help you with whatever you need. Most common side effect after getting the vaccine though is just soreness where you had received the shot at. Other than that, there's not normally any other common effects from it. Just because you get the vaccine doesn't mean that you cannot get the flu. It should reduce your chances of getting it. It also has proven that even if you do get the flu after getting the vaccine, the symptoms will be not as intense as they would have been if you had not gotten the vaccine. So it's important that you do that every year. It is most recommended that you get the vaccine at the end of October, right before the peak of all of it. And like I said, the vaccine is updated almost every year based on what they think the most common viruses are going to be in the upcoming season. Again, some reasons why you should be getting this vaccine every year. One, no one likes to be sick. No one likes to have to miss work or school or events they have planned because of it. And obviously it decreases the amount of absences you need to have for school or work, and it kind of prevents the spread of it as well. Obviously, it puts the people that are most at risk at less risk as well if you're not also able to contract the flu and spread that. Again, like I said, there are preventative actions you can take at home, but they are not 100%. It is definitely recommended that you get the vaccine. It's the best way to prevent it. So that's what I would recommend you doing. It's what the CDC recommends. If you talk to any health professionals, that's normally what they'll tell you as well. But if you want to look at the bottom of your notes, you will see there are 5 quiz questions here. If you want to take a moment and kind of look at those questions at the bottom, all that information would have just been covered in this. I will provide the answers to these quiz questions in my, at the bottom of the handout. So if you want to take the quiz first, you check the little bottom and there should be the answers for you. And then hopefully you learned a lot from this. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you guys are all staying safe at home, and I hope you're enjoying your time. Thank you.